decision, each financial decision you make affects other areas of your finances. So if we view each financial decision as a part of a whole, in the holistic overview, that really helps us to see what we're doing in terms of finances. So, and that means we consider our short-term and long-term financial decisions on our life's goal. And one method you really want to look at is looking at, coming up with a plan. And the plan actually has got steps here. If you establish a goal, and that's really the first thing you want to do. The step one is, if you don't plan, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. If you don't have a set goal, then you're really wishing for just anything goes, because you don't have a target, you don't have a goal. And the next step two is really you want to gather the relevant data that helps you, that supports you to achieve that goal or building that relationship. The third thing is you don't just want to gather that data. What if that data doesn't make sense? What if it doesn't add up? You want to analyze the data and make sure it actually aligns with what you want to achieve. Then fourthly, you want to develop a plan. And a plan really helps you, shows you a roadmap, just like if you're driving from one city to another and you plan to go with a GPS. Part of your plan is really that, okay, GPS is going to guide me from point A to point B. So that plan, within that plan, is what lays down the map for you to actually take off from the first point and get to the second point. Then the fifth one is you implement the plan. So many people are very good at, this is my plan, but they just itemize, lay out a plan, and then they go to sleep. We're wondering if an angel will help them implement that plan. It doesn't work like that, so you actually have to implement your own plan. Then the final step is you monitor your progress. Always good to monitor your progress. So you can also adapt easily to life changes and feel more secure that your goals are on track when you follow these steps we have itemized. Let's look at the next one here. Repetition. That's in the word freedom, repetition. Now, what exactly are we talking about here? Is it the key to success? It actually means you do it all over again. But hold on here. There are two sides to this repetition. There's a positive side, there is a negative side. The positive side is that you repeat, or you do a repetition of the correct and workable things. The negative side is repetition of the incorrect, unworkable things. And that is really synonymous to solving your laziness with prayer. And what that results into, you spend the rest of your life in church screaming, I receive, I receive. And you will scream practically, and you will never receive anything till old age. So the point here is really, once you've identified, you have that financial plan, you follow the whole steps, you've seen what works for you, you want to do it all over again. The ones that do not work, you have tested them and you see that these ones are not giving you the outcome you need, then you discontinue them. Those are really the negative aspect of repetition. You don't want to repeat those, right? So you do repeat the things that work correctly, and the ones that don't work, they're working correctly, you do away with them. The next thing you want to do, you have a plan, you've laid out your plan. Now you've identified the things that are working, and you realize from your research that, oops, okay, I think it's about maybe investing or trading or whatever you've decided to do. You want to equip yourself. And when we say equip yourself, we're talking about you get the supply of necessary items / tools. And when we say, what do you mean by the necessary items / tools? Somebody's trying to trade, go into maybe Forex trading, trying to go into crypto trading, trying to go into real estate, and you don't have a laptop. How do you even view what is on the market? How do you even look at, you could say, well, I have a phone. A phone could do, a phone or laptop, right? But those are the tools we're talking about here. You have a laptop. But notice something there. Excel, a spreadsheet. What is that used for? For tracking, for accounting. What kills most people or kills most ideas or actually cripples people is not being accountable for their decisions, their actions. And when we say being accountable, you spent XY amount of dollars, you should be able to trace it. You should be able to track it. You should be able to log it somewhere so that you can always go back and take a look at that. So, and that helps you in accounting. And if you look at this, equipping yourself, we can also look at a concept called income, because you're trying to get to equipping yourself to make money, right? But within that concept of the income, we have what we call active and passive income. The passive one is the residual one. Your job, my job, the jobs we have, they are active income. And any other source or sources are passive income. And I typically advise people to have minimum 4 sources of income. Why? Why do I advise people to have minimum 4 sources of income? Well, I like to take my example from the Bible. If you look at, I think Bible, Genesis chapter, I think it's 3, talks about the river that branches into 4, has 4 heads. One of them is Pihon and the rest, and one of them the Bible described as having precious stones and everything, right? But practically, if you have 4 sources of income, if your employer wakes up one day and says, hey, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed and I don't like you for who you are, leave my job. What happens? You still have what? 3 sources of income. You can still survive until you get the next job. So minimum 4 sources of income. How you get there, you will decide yourself. Now, let's look at a couple of these options we have here. Investments. What are we talking about an investment? What do you need to get in terms of equipment for investment? We have the stock platforms. We have a sample. We have some of them, Webull, we have Robinhood, we have eTrader, we have Binance, we have Voyager. And we're still going to come back to this investment aspect. So right now we're still laying down like the principles and trying to reconfigure our mindsets to come back to where it needs to be in terms of financial freedom. Now, investment cash. What are you talking about here? Investment cash. Somebody might say, I'm a student, I don't have money. Can you save money? Of course. Have you considered the 70-20 rule? Maybe you should think about that. What does that mean? 70% of your income goes to expenses, but 20% to savings, and not just savings to be sending to people back home, especially if you're from Africa, but 20% savings to be invested after your tithes. Think about that for a moment. Now, what about financial know-how? You're trying to equip yourself. Spend time, educate yourself on current investments. There are resources everywhere. YouTube, you can learn Forex on YouTube if you're determined. What about trading Forex, trading crypto, trading securities, trading stocks? In essence, what we're trying to convey, the message I'm trying to convey here is that you make yourself a mobile hotspot. And what do you mean by a mobile hotspot? You get all the necessary items, applications you require to implement your financial plan, which you identified in the first phase. Now that you have all the equipment you need the tools, the know-how, what do? You engage the market. What? Engage in the market? What do you mean by engaging the market? You want to narrow down the specific securities in the case of stocks / cryptos you really want to focus on. You can't fight all the battles. Remember David, when he goes to approach God, the Philistines are gathering in this place, and sometimes God will say, he will ask God, shall I go? Will I overcome? God will say, yes, go. You will recover. Sometimes God will say, no, don't go. Wait in so place, right? That tells you that you can't do everything. So you really need to narrow down the specific securities or the specific things you want to do, or the specific approaches or areas you want to engage the market with. Trading securities, buying and selling real estate properties, flipping houses. These are so many options. I've heard of people that go to very remote areas still within the US where they can get houses for $10,000, houses that are that are almost written off. They buy them, they leave them there, and they come back years after, or renovate them or rent them out or something. Practically or flip them. That's what you call flipping houses. What about long-term, short-term, day trading? You can go into trading crypto, trading options, trading stocks. But one thing I really want to point out here is the word smart borrowing. Smart borrowing. Now, what do we mean by smart borrowing? Many of us, we're so used to a traditional way of doing things. You just graduated from college. The first thing that comes to your mind, okay, I've gotten a job. The next thing, I want to go get a car note or get a car loan. I want to get a car. Have you ever thought about actually going to take out the loan for trading and not borrowing to buy a new car? Do you know that the profit from trading or investing, that 40,000 you would have taken if you invested wisely, you will have paid back the loan and still buy your dream car. But your dream car is really the liability, right? Because the moment you drive off the dealer's lot, the value drops. By what percentage? We can determine that later. But the point here is you can go to a credit union and tell them, you know what, I want to take out a loan. I know this is a practical case here. I know someone that took out the loan for 60,000 and went into crypto trading. At some point, he was hitting 500K. At some point, he was hitting $500,000 right there. And this wasn't something of 6 months. It was less than 6 months, less than 3 months. So think about what you take out your loans for while you try to engage the market. Due diligence, D in the word freedom. This one is very important. And what are we talking about here? Due diligence on investment and allocation of your resources or your savings. Now you've worked hard, you've saved up money. It's now time to, if you want to engage the market, but in trying to engage the market, you also want to do your due diligence. The double D, due diligence. Now, take a look at this, for instance. This is a use case. 1 million units of what you call OTC stocks, over-the-counter stocks, or crypto, a cryptocurrency, will today cost you whose price is $0.0001. I don't know how to, that's less than a cent. So today will cost you $100. But if peradventure the price increases to $1, even if it takes you 10 years, makes you a millionaire, right? If you repeat the same thing for 10 different OTC stocks, over-the-counter stocks, or cryptocurrencies, 10 different ones, you'll be spending how much? $1,000, right? And if one out of the 10 succeeds and gets to $1, you're $1 million wealthy. 10 out of 10 succeeds, that means you're a multi-millionaire. The question you might ask, is this a gamble? No, of course it's not a gamble. This is really the law of sowing and reaping. A sower went forth to sow. When the sower sowed the seed, he didn't sit back there like some of us who want to do, want to act. You invest today, I dare you want to reap right away. No, it doesn't work like that. Take a look at what Christ did when he came to die for us. He actually came and laid down his life, which is like sowing his life. Jesus even said, except the corn of wheat falls and is buried, it abided alone. But when it resurrects, which is really the reaping side of your investment, that's why it's not a gamble, because you do that in faith, it explodes. So something to think about. Now, something that is also important is the O in the freedom, the word freedom.
COVID says, don't do anything for like COVID.
Are we still together? Okay, obliterate. What do we mean by obliterate? Destroy something to the extent that there is no existence of clue left. What do you obliterate? Procrastination. Like if going through this session and you're saying, I'll wait until I have a PhD. I'll wait until I get married. My husband will be the one to invest for me. Or I'll wait until those excuses knocked off, just take those out of your program. I don't have money for investment. Really? Are you sure? Can you start with $100? Can you afford $100 and then compound the interest, reinvesting your total profit, which is really an aggressive investment approach? Or do you want to go with the conservative approach? But obliterate, take out all those excuses, knock them out, take them out of the picture. Now let's look at life's major milestones, like we were taught in that video, right? Your child is born, you go to school, you get higher education, time for getting married, buying a house, a new job, loss of a parent. These are all major milestones that you want to have money to make sure you can handle. Manage, the last one, in the word freedom. What does that mean? Meaning you make do. The first thing you make do or change is change the way you think about money. The love of money is the root of all evil. Of course, it's in the Bible. But money answereth all things is also in the Bible. So the approach I adopt practically is I leave the point of, from the point of money, between money answereth all things, and before it gets to the love, I try to stop there. You can strike that balance. You want to develop the understanding of the power of small amounts. Oh, it's just $1. It's just a candy of $1. I'll just buy it. How much is $1? $1 in 1,000 places becomes how much? $1,000. Way to freedom by saving small amounts, but consistently. Consistency in savings. Realize that the more money is not the answer here, because if you have $10,000 today and you don't make do of that money, you don't know what to do with it. If you're giving 100 million, you're still not going to know what to do with it. Remember the parable of the talents. Now, your current condition is your own making. You are responsible for where you are in life. Or maybe you can argue that back and forth, or maybe it's my parents, but going forward, it becomes your own responsibility. And that's really the mindset you want to have. Whatever decisions you make, take ownership of it. If you need to change it, change it. If you need to update it, update it. So that really helps you in your financial freedom. Now, we're not going to get to this practical aspect. This is really doing the maths, although I'm going to touch on it before I invite the next speaker, and then after which we'll take in questions. So in general, I'll just give us a quick snippet here. I'm going to share my screen again. This is very streamlined, narrowed down, but mind-blowing, right? This is cryptocurrency. Like I said, we're still talking about financial freedom in general. I just wanted to give us this example, and then we'll go to the next speaker. And during the question and answer time, we'll go through some of this. This is one cryptocurrency. This is another cryptocurrency. As at the time this analysis was done, this was the price of this crypto. And if you're buying 100 million units, you'll be spending how much? $887.20. And look at the projection here. If this closes 1-0, what happens? your investment has become 8,000. Mind blowing. The same number of units. Look at the profit you'll be having. If that had occurred within 5 months, you have this much amount. If the price, and that's with most investments, houses, you could buy a house today and then in 5 years' time, the price goes times 5. Now, look at this now. It closes another 2 decimal zeros closed. How much do you have? $88,000. And this is no joke. I can tell you, I know people that have gotten this much money. If it closes 3 zeros, look at where you are, almost $1 million. It closes another zero, you're already $7.9 million rich. Just something to think about. I know we have so many questions, and this is really in the crypto space, but we're going to revisit some of these concepts. And with that, I will yield to Professor Charles. Professor Charles, please take it away.
Hello, everyone. Okay, okay, good morning, everyone. It's been wonderful to be in your midst, and I am actually invited to co-speak, just to share with us, also reinforcing on what the previous speaker has said about investment. So I'll be sharing with you on investment, but I'll be kind of diversifying a little bit and emphasizing on very important things. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, let me try to share. Some time ago, I actually had the privilege of sharing with the singles on the same subject. So I'm going to, some of the things I'll be speaking here will be things, if you're one of those who are in the singles program, you will perhaps, it will just be a point of emphasis for you. But these are facts that we all need to pay attention to. We can't sleep over these facts. We cannot pass the bulk, act like we're not part of a system. You're part of a system. It's a very competitive system. Financial platform is very competitive. And people perish because of lack of knowledge, God's people now. And so it's important that we are knowledgeable about what is going on. So I'll be talking to us on financial literacy and establishing good financial habits. Once again, I want to appreciate Bro Christian for inviting me to be part of this session. I also want to appreciate our pastors, Pastor Aki Omoni and his wife, for the opportunity to speak to God's people about financial literacy. And also my pastor that I introduced at the beginning, I want to appreciate you as well. I pray the Lord will continue to sustain you all as you build God's kingdom in Jesus' name. Amen. And so here, a little bit about my background. Okay. I am a pastor with the Deeper Life Bible Church. Also, I say I'm like a life coach, because we are in ministry, we attend to people, not just within the church, but we attend to people who are also outside of the church, especially in things like this. And so we look at in-house, we look at, of course, secondary groups as well. I'm also a teacher. I don't like to say professor. Well, professors are basically teachers. So I'm also a teacher at the University of the District of Columbia. I'm also into some businesses. For example, I founded Tech Cycle, co-founded Tech with my brother, Christian, and also working with him also with his projects, still growing project, Snipe Signal LLC, and also working alongside with him on that project. And we have collaborated when it comes to investment, crypto investment, stocks investments, and so on and so forth. Let me see if I can put this on slideshow. I don't know if it's on slideshow. Is it big enough? Can we all see what I'm presenting? Oh, okay.
Go to the bottom, you'll see the one that, yeah, you'll see, just hover there, you'll see the one that says slideshow.
Okay. So, in our church, some months ago, or a couple of years ago, we had a program, and it was couples program. Pastor, regional overseer, understanding that money is usually at the root of many financial family problem. Money is usually at the bottom of the pyramid of financial crisis in a family. Or financial crisis is usually at the bottom of the pyramid of issues between husband and wife. And so he introduced the topic money, talked about money and financial literacy. And one of the major highlights of that event was, a question that came during the event was, do you want money to be your monster, a monster to you, or a master, or a messenger to you? Or is money a monster to you? Or is money a master to you? Or is it a messenger to you? I'm sure you, of course, an anonymous person actually came up with this statement. And I'm sure you can connect with each one of these. To some people, money is a monster, big monster. Anything, when you talk about money, they are angry. Money is scary to them because, or they are scared of money, talking about money because they don't have it. They can't give. That's why at times when we talk about projects in the church, people are asked to give. Some people get upset with giving. Some people don't even want to talk about tithe and offering. Some people don't pay tithe. They don't pay. They don't give to God's work. They don't give to people because of the place that money has taken up in their life. They are not able to think by withholding much more than is necessary that they will do better. But in reality, it is not so. Things have shown that according to scriptures, when we withhold much more than is meet. Can you imagine somebody withholding taxes? You don't pay your tax to the government. They will come after you. But some of us feel that God is so merciful and he understands. And therefore, I don't need to pay my obligations, pay my dues. And money can be a master when it controls. You can imagine people working some double job, triple job just to pay off a property that they have purchased without being prepared to purchase those properties. Some people live in properties that are bigger than them. And so now they are panting to survive, just to pay for the mortgage of those properties. And to those people, you say money is like a master because money is controlling them. They're actually working for money. They're enslaved to it. They can't keep up. They have to work 3 jobs. They don't have a life. Health is affected because money has become a master to them. But I'm sure everyone on this platform wants money to be a messenger, a vehicle to accomplish goals, a vehicle to do great things in God's kingdom, to do great things in your family, to do great things in your life, so that at the end of life, you look back and say, I have accomplished great things. And so I pray the Lord will help us that money will be our messenger in Jesus' name. That's just a statement, but the facts, let's look at some facts, very important facts. According to Brookings Institute's report, people of color, which includes you and I, who have been through college, owe an average of $25,000 more in student loan debt than white college graduates. And this is very important to our students. Very important for our students to pay close attention to this. And if you can avoid taking debts, if you can work extra hard, if you can basically do much more to have a scholarship, or as a parent, if there's anything you can do, which is why we're having this session, any investment you can make that will ultimately help you to invest in your children, to prevent them from being debtors from school. you will be saving them a whole lot, because this debt multiplies after graduation. That's why you see some medical doctors are not able to pay off their debts. They are earning 6 figures, but guess what? For life, they are paying debt. Of course, they want to live up to the expectations of being doctors or engineers, and at the expense of paying off these debts. And so the debt is multiplied. So some people carry debt through life. They are debtors through life. And we also see that 4 years after graduation, 48% of people of color owe an average of 12.5% more than they borrowed for college. You see, not too good. African Americans, people of color again, borrowers are the most likely to struggle financially due to student loan debt. Why are we talking about this? If you look at COVID-19, when it broke out, there were people that had predisposing conditions. And you know what? You cannot dissociate financial health from the real bodily health. You know, when there's no food in the pot, nothing in the fridge, the anxiety level is high, the children are coming, they want this, they want that, buy this, pay my school fees, and that money is not there. Parents begin to struggle in this situation. They have sleepless nights, and the end goal or the end point of this is their health is impacted. And so I admonish you, brethren, take this very seriously. Whatever you can do to be in control of your finances, do that, because it trickles down even to children. You find that's why the rich keep getting richer, the poor keeps getting poorer. And it takes God for anyone who is born into a poor home to break out of that ceiling. But if you are a parent, that battle can be fought today. You can take advantage of the opportunities today to give your children a better platform in life. I pray the Lord helps us. I know this is a financial session, but also know I'm speaking to people of faith. And why is there wealth gap? There is wealth gap according to a survey by Charles Schwab and a mutual fund platform. They say out of 500 blacks and 500 whites that were surveyed, they realized that these are people who earn over $50,000. They realized that people of color are underinvested in the stock market. And I say here, the new way, the old way. Yeah, that's what it used to be, old way. But the new way is this narrative needs to change. We cannot be ignorant anymore. And you know, from this, they also said people of color are underrepresented. They are underrepresented. When you talk of investments, crypto, like Chris spoke about, people of color are underrepresented. But now they are beginning to wake up to this. And I believe you also wake up to these opportunities by God willing. And because they are underrepresented and in investment world, I want you to look at investment this way. If you take the human body, the units, one of the minutest parts, the unit cell, or I'm putting it to the unit particle of the human system are the cells. The minutest evidence of life are in the cells. And you want to look at stocks as, you know, the unit cells of companies. So when we talk of stocks, investing in stocks, the stocks are just the unit cells of companies. When a company is doing well, it's an indication that, of course, the stocks are also appreciating. The stocks appreciate as the company also does well. So they go alongside. And so that's why you find companies, corporations, they allocate, the companies are broken down to basically to stocks, investments. People invest in companies, they buy up the shares of those companies. Those are the unit cells. So it's very important and very, very important that we pay close attention to this. Now, because blacks are underrepresented, I don't like to use the word blacks because nobody's really black here. We're just people of color, right? And because people of color are underrepresented, we see that they lose out from opportunities of growth, income that come from investment. And so this has a devastating effect on their ability to accumulate wealth. Do you know that just working from 8 to 5 cannot get you to your financial goals, except you do something more? You can do something more from working 8 to 5, or perhaps start a business, or perhaps seek for other opportunities. I'm going to talk about some other opportunities. If you're working 8 to 5, there are opportunities you can take advantage of also as we look at this. Now, why is it important that we close this wealth gap? If you have been in the market to buy properties recently, you can tell that properties have over the last 2 years have actually, the prices have gone astronomical. Properties have doubled in price, and you're busy there looking for loan approval from the bank. And but when you drive around, you see people with placards saying, "We buy houses cash." People are buying houses cash. You're looking for approval from a bank. Somebody has $800,000 cash to pay for a property. Who do you think the seller is going to give preference? They won't wait for you 3 weeks, 1 month looking for the loan officer to approve you. They will sell that house cash. And so you see, it's important that we take strategic positions. We begin to wake up, because the field, the playground is no longer level. It's no longer level. These people are heavily invested in crypto and stocks and businesses, and they are making good money from it. And so they are empowered to your disadvantage. But I pray to God that you will not be disadvantaged in Jesus' name. Amen. Now, let's look at some financial lessons from scriptures as people of faith. And even if you're here, you're not somebody who is a man or woman of faith, I encourage you that, you pay close attention to what the Bible has. The Bible is loaded. In the Bible is life. The words are life. Bible says, the truth, it sets you free. And look at some things from the Bible. Genesis chapter 41, verse 46 through 57 talks about a man called Joseph. Joseph in Egypt. Remember, Joseph got to Egypt as a slave. He was a slave in Egypt. You know the story surrounding Joseph. He was not just an immigrant. He came like our relatives came to America. The African American, some of our relatives that were brought here chained. Some of them came chained. Some died in the process, and that's why if you see them getting upset and angry, feeling left out, it's the ancestral link with the way they were brought here. Many of them were used as laborers, as slaves, to build the structures that you see in American society today. But you know what? The Bible does not want us to continue that way. And if you know anybody in that situation, I want you to refer them to scriptures and refer them to the man called Joseph. Joseph was like a slave in Egypt, but the Lord lifted Joseph up. And the Bible says that in Genesis 41, verse 38, there were certain things about Joseph. In verse 38, and Pharaoh said unto his servants, can we find such a one as this is, a man in whom the Spirit of God is? Do you know one thing that can set anybody free from the spirit of slavery is the Spirit of the living God? When God's Spirit comes upon you, the Spirit of excellence, your potentials are made to be manifest. You'll be broken from the chains. As long as you're interested and you don't love your chains, you'll be broken out. You'll be released from slavery. I talked about Joseph because Joseph had the Spirit of God and the wisdom of God, and he successfully managed food crisis in Egypt during economic slowdown. The Bible also talks about, the virtuous woman. The Bible said the virtuous woman considers a field. Put it this way: considers a property, considers a mansion, considers she wants to buy an estate, considers an estate, maybe an estate in Florida. I know most of you are in Florida. Consider an estate. Maybe you're that virtuous woman, you're considering an estate in Mar-a-Lago where President Trump has all his properties and all his associates, where a condo costs $30 million, one condo. Is that your interest? If that's what your interest is, you can be there. God can take you there because our God is a God of impossible. He makes impossible situations possible. And you see, the Bible says she considers a field and buys it. That means she's empowered. She has resources to accomplish it. And the Bible also says this, she stretches out her hands to the poor and the needy. That means this woman has a lot of resources. She has done her homework, like Bro Chris talked about, or introduced us to, which we're going to come back to. And I'm going to go real fast so we can come back to the practical sessions. Or maybe you want to think about the ants. Look at the ants. They store enough food for 3 months when there's cold for living resources. You don't see them when the cold is winter session. They are enjoying themselves because they had saved enough to take them for 3 months. Whether it's Joseph or whether it's virtuous woman or whether the ants, God, our God is a great God. You know, what can we say about these people and these creatures? One thing we can see, self-awareness. They knew who they were. Joseph knew he had the Spirit of God. He wasn't going to be ignorant. He had the solution in his hand. He was ready, and he was ready to take actions. And they were, we say resourcefulness. They were able to make things work, put things together to make things work. Street smart. They were smart people, very smart. We see, like the ants, start small. Doesn't wait till it's so big. Starts in a little way. And hard work. We see hard work. We see self-motivation. We see strategic planning, strong organizational skills. We see foresight. Not people, you know, they were not living for that time. They were people like the men of Issachar. They understood the times and season in which Israel was in and what Israel needed to do. Men of Issachar understood the times and season in which they were in and what their families needed to do, what the nation needed to do. And then we see budgeting. Quickly, I move to the next point. You see, or next slide. The wise man, the Bible talks about the wise man, the wise woman. Let's look at Proverbs chapter 21, verse 17. He that loveth pleasure shall be a poor man, but he that loveth wine and oil shall not be rich. If you live today at the expense of tomorrow, you swallow your seeds. All the seeds God gives to you, you swallow them up and eat them in the pot. The Bible said that you will be a poor man, you'll be a poor woman, because you have nothing for tomorrow. Verse 20 says, there is treasure to be desired and oil in the dwelling of the wise, but a foolish man spends everything, spends all the resources, and at the expense of tomorrow. Now, when it comes to financial literacy, many of these things, Kristen has done a great job, and I will very fast with some of this. But I want to talk about net worth. You need to know self-awareness. Has to do with you knowing your net worth. You need to determine your net worth. What do you have in your hand? What is that rod in your hand that you have? Then you have to set goals. You can't just live without setting goals. What are your goals in life? What do you want to achieve? Budgeting is like a plan. You develop a budget, a practical budget will help you to actually accomplish your goals. And then you add action to it. When we say net worth, I will sum it up by saying, is basically the difference between how much you owe and how much you own. If you owe more, if you owe more and own less, you are a debtor. You are like a slave to the debt, to the creditor. I want to challenge some of you to read about the school of the prophet who was in the school of prophecy. That when he died and left his family in debt, and the creditors had to come to take his children. And I pray that will not be our portion. He was so conscious about ministry, school of prophecy, that when he died, he left his family in debt, and the creditors came. That man owed more than owned. So to calculate your net worth, just check how much do you owe and how much do you own. check all the things you owe, subtract them. I believe for you, God willing, you subtract them from the things you have. There should be something left for you, not the opposite. If you have more debt than you own, that means you are a debtor. And now Luke chapter 4, verse 8, Luke chapter 14, verse 28 says, which of you intending to build a tower, seated not down first and counted the cost? Counting the cost is as good as saying, how much do I have? How much do I have? If you go to the bank today to look for a loan, like Bro Chris said, they're going to ask you, how much do you have? Your collateral. How much do you have? You're going to be asked that. Now, this is net worth of people in the United States. It's expected that your net worth will rise over time as you age. You know, some people think that as you grow older and have more children, you should be getting poorer. If you don't do much, if you don't do your math well, if you don't do investment, you don't save, as more children come, as more liabilities come, you will get poorer. But if you do the right thing, guess what? Your net worth will be rising and rising and rising. It will not matter what the situations around you are. So, for example, I mean, time will not permit us, I would have asked, if you were like in the age bracket of 55 to 59, you should be sitting with about $200,000 in your account without no debt, purely yours, $200,000. This is if you didn't do investment, you didn't even do you didn't do aggressive. Normally, if you didn't do any of those businesses, you should have at least 200,000 if you are employing good saving strategy. But if you're going into things more, if you're a risk taker, you should do better than this. You should do better than this. And if you're not here, you can wake up. There can be a change, and there can be a turnaround for you. When it comes to goal setting, you have to figure out what your goals are. Is it for growth? Is it income? Or is it for a safety net for the evil day, like the Bible talks about the evil day? And you can tell that emergencies do come up. So your goals should include short-term, long-term. But as you set goals, it's important that you actually be very specific and make sure your goals are measurable. Make sure that they are achievable. Make sure they are realistic, not at the expense of your health. Make sure they are realistic. And also make sure that your goals are timely. Put times to this, are very important. Now, you know, I talked about the ants. The ants is able to, in the Bible, we see is the ant that the Bible talks about. The Bible says, thou sluggard, go and check the ants. And so when you check the ants, you notice that they're able to survive for like 3 months without coming out to look for food in the winter season. That means they're able to save enough that will last them for 3 months. And so in our time of today, we're told for economic and financial education, we're told that plan with net income, your net worth, of course, net income. And it says when you're saving now, when you're budgeting, and when it comes to achieving financial goals, make sure you have saved enough that will last you for 3 to 6 months before you talk of investment. Make sure you have enough that will last you for 3 to 6 months before you talk of any other thing. Allocate funds for weekly and monthly expenses. And Chris talked about 70-20 budget rule, or 70, of course, 70-20. There's also the 50-20-30. But make sure you have a percentage that works very well for you. 50 means 50% of your income goes to needs and obligations. 20% is expected to go to savings and investment. 30% can go to your wants and non-essentials. So they call this 50-20-30 rule. This is the one that Elizabeth Warren in her book talked about, 50-20-30 percent budget rule. You can look more into this. I believe you will get some more insight on that. Okay. I will just, for time, quickly talk about savings. Here are some helpful tips when it comes to savings. Like the ants, start now, even if it's small. Start small, start small. Everyone can save. Save enough that will last for 6 months of living expenses. And the reason is because America is a very hostile place If you lose your job, it doesn't matter how much you earn. You can earn 6 figures. If you lose that job and you don't have savings enough to take you for the next 6 months, you will be out on the street with your backpack, your rucksack. You will carry your backpack on the street. Haven't you seen, I mean, somewhere in Washington, D.C. here, you go there, you see able-bodied young men and women with rucksack, with cell phones. All they have, nothing, sleeping under the bridge. All they have is their bag with toothpaste and everything because they lost out. When you don't have enough savings for 6 months, at least 3 to 6 months, you lose your job, you might be on the streets. And I pray that will not be your portion in Jesus' name. Now, if you have high interest credit cards, pay them off. High interest loans, after you've saved for 3 to 6 months, depends on the situation, pay off high interest loans. Any interest loan that is sapping your life, pay it off and have your clean slate. Then be consistent when it comes to savings. Every paycheck or weekly, or monthly, be adaptable, be ready to adapt. You know, as far as savings is concerned, to reallocate funds, take advantage. Now, this is very good for people who have employers. Take advantage of employer matching funds. Do you know there's some employers, many of you, maybe you're working, you never think about employer matching funds. Go to the human resource department. Ask them about opportunities that are present in that place of work. It's something we've taken advantage of in my family. Do you know there's some employers, they tell you, if you bring 5% of your income, if you drop it, they will match it with 5%. And some will match it up to 20%. So if you bring up to 20% of your salary, they will match it up with another 20%. So if you bring 6,000, let's say you earn, take for example, you earn $1,000 in every month. And $1,000 is 10% of $1,000 is basically $100. If you bring $100, if you put it down, they will give you $100. Now imagine you're making 10,000. You bring 1,000, they give you $10,000. Sorry, they give you 1,000. You give 1,000, they give you 1,000. You give 2,000, they give you 2,000, up to a certain limit. And so, in a situation like that, if they match up to 20%, stop putting down 1%. Why not increase it to 10% so that it can give you 10% of that equal amount, equivalent to your 10%? If they're matching up to 20%, why are you giving 1%? Do you know that can be your easiest way of building savings enough to buy a franchise in another 10 years, enough to actually for a down payment of a house? Take advantage of it. Very, very important. And also there's what we call balance transfer. If you have a credit card, you can do a balance transfer. You can actually move funds, of course, transfer the balances from a high interest to a low interest credit card. Okay, let me quickly, I know I'm taking a good time. Let me quickly move on. And now I want to talk, before I move on, forget the typo here. It says, avoid making poor choices. Some people save and they've saved for 6 months. Some have saved for 2 years, or perhaps some have invested and the investment is doing well. And suddenly the spirit of error comes in. They make a mistake that wipes the entire savings out. Somebody comes and introduces a new business deal to them and they don't sit back, they don't think about it. They quickly jump to their savings and then they put the whole thing and the whole thing is gone. And so I say, avoid making poor choices that can wipe off precious savings. Don't also hoard, withholding much more than is meet, to the extent that you don't pay your tithe, you don't give to God's work, you don't help people. Share some love. These are some savings tips. When we talk of investing, I tell people, investments start with yourself. Invest in yourself. Education, financial literacy, just like you are here. You've sacrificed some time to be here. Invest in your health. Because when you are empowered, you can do all the good things. If you're sick and you're taking the money that you should use to take care of your health, some people will say they don't want to pay for health insurance. Hey, go get yourself an insurance. It's very important. You, in getting insurance, You're investing in your health, because something starts happening to you and you're managing it. God forbid, if God expects you to live up to, you're expected to live up to 70 and you die at 50, it will not be your portion in Jesus' name. Or your vision is truncated, you become unable to walk at 40. No, because you did not take care of your health. And at times our health is very complex. It could be something within. Just go for it. Could be going for a checkup. Pay some money. Take care of yourself. And also then you can now start thinking about investment. Remember, you have enough savings, 6 months at least. Now invest in yourself, education, training. Now you can start thinking about investment in real estate, business startups, stocks, cryptos, and even God's kingdom, good causes, other people. And of course, as you invest, weigh the risk and reward. Invest only what you are willing to lose. Invest only, this is capital, only what you are willing to lose. Don't invest something that when you lose it, you are on the street and they ask you what happened, and you cannot explain what happened. And you cannot explain to your family, to your children who need you to take care of them. The Bible says that, okay, let's look at quickly. Time, investment, Warren Buffett says patience is key. Patience is key when it comes to investment. Now you're investing what you're willing to lose, right? What you can afford. Warren Buffett said the stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to patient people. Some people, when they start investing, they want to become millionaires overnight. They don't have a strategy like Bro Chris talked about. There is no planning, no goals set. They want to become millionaires overnight. Warren Buffett says it doesn't work that way. He says that the stock market platform will deprive those who are impatient, and the wealth will be given to those who are patient. The patient people are very strategic. They are like farmers. When they sow a seed and the seed is rotting, they are not going to open the ground to see what is there. You know, like we used to do those days when we were very small. When you sow a seed in a bucket, you're opening up to see what's happening to the seed. And at the end of the day, the seed dies. And we see because of impatience, people lose opportunities. People lose good opportunities. They jump out when they are supposed to be averaging down. Let's say some of those strategies, I think I want to leave a practical session to Chris. Times when you purchase some shares, good use cases, and the value drops. What do? Or before you buy it, you say, well, I'm going to enter with 50%. I'm going to put 50. I want to put $100, but let me start by putting $50 or $30. Should, in case it drops lower, then you buy average down, you buy more. If it drops lower, you put maybe another 20 out of 100, you put 40. It drops lower, you put another $20 in. It drops lower, you put the remaining 20. Because there's nothing that keeps going down for a good utility investment. Everything that goes down goes up. And everything that goes up comes down. It's like a cycle of life. The cycle of life at times is just you sow and it deteriorates and it becomes a fruit. You reap the investment and you eat it. Of course, you sow again. It's like a cycle. And the same thing applies to the investment market. Patience is key. When it comes to investing, research is very important to determine what are your interests. At times you invest the things that are interesting to you, the sectors that are interesting to you, renewable energy or food or environment or manufacturing or pharmaceutical. You have to do some research and find out which one of this is of importance to you. And also, you could invest in things, if you're a day trader, that one you're not attached to any of this interest, but you are trading volatility. There are factors to consider before purchasing a security, and all these will come under the practical sessions, like how the financial capability of the company, who are the board members. If you're trying to do long-term investment, you need to know what are the market capital of that company. How long have they been in the business? Did they just wake up yesterday and want to get all the people to invest in them today? So you want to know how long have they been in business? Do they have a product? Do they have a product? How profitable are they? And so on and so forth. And I have been in the investment world for quite some time, around 2005. And when I started, things like Amazon was just $44 per share. I bought Amazon share, and when it became $56, I sold off and thought I made profit. But today, when I look at Amazon, the share of Amazon is about $2,900 and something, almost $3,000. And this is within the space of 13 years. Can you see? You could be that employee. But if can you imagine an employee earning $60,000 a year, but who is investing aggressively money that he doesn't need anyway, and putting that aside in a stock like Amazon over 13 years, what millionaires are able to do, that employee will also be able to stand up to them and do the same thing. And the same thing applies, even Apple and Google and so many of them, which I'm sure we'll talk about also. Of course, real estate, I talked about. The person who introduced me to stocks actually had made fortune from stocks and then invested in real estate, moved that from stocks, his stocks portfolio, and was now buying properties, which were multiplying. So there's some investment simulators that you can use to see how much you make over time. They call them investment calculators, or if you're saving, if you're getting interest. You know, some people, they are very, very, very attached to saving. They're obsessed with savings. There's nothing wrong with savings, but I can tell you, if all that you want to do is saving, depreciation will set in. Cost of living will go up. And what your savings can do today may not be suffice tomorrow. Your savings, say you have $100,000 in the bank. 10 years ago, perhaps will buy you a property, a condo. But today, $100,000 will not even get you a hut, a mobile home. In fact, you may have to go look for a mobile home, trailer home now with $100,000. So if all that you're doing is savings, that may not be enough to carry you through. Savings is good in case you lose your job. 6 months at least, you have something to at least daily basic necessities, or to save to start a business for down payment, or perhaps to go into something else. And so in a quick way, but you can't just be obsessed with only savings. You need to invest if you really want to do well. I want to stop here, and I hope that you have acquired, taken in some useful knowledge. And I pray the Lord bless you all in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay. With this, I will stop and invite Bro Chris, or perhaps panel. I'm sure you all may have some questions that you'd like to ask.
Thank you, Professor, Pastor, Life Coach. Actually, we're looking to go into practicals. But right now, I'm thinking we might just do it a little different. I'm thinking we might just go into questions. I know many of us have so many questions, so that when the questions come in, we can go into practical sessions and use those to narrate those, make those illustrations, and while answering those questions. So I think we'll open up the floor for questions.
So we have
Pastor Obami, I think there's maybe there are two devices that are very close to each other.
Okay, so thank you very much for the presentations. So let's see how many people have questions. I have a question. We have one, and so let's ask question. Anybody else? Okay, so let's ask the submission for submission. You can unmute yourself and ask a question.
Thank you all so much for the opportunity, to the amazing speaker, Dr. Kristen and Dr. Uche, for your the wonderful insights. I'm always excited about anything finances, money, businesses. So I want to ask this question. So I'm very new in investment and all of that. So I think I get into investment in 2020, 2021. And when I track like most of the stocks that have done so well, you feel like, okay, I'm just so new, but most of those stocks are already like up there. If I have 1,000 I want to invest in, buying Tesla or buying Apple or buying Spotify and all those things. So those stocks are already so high, and to make profits out of those. So if you could kind of tell us, or if you have to share with us, since you've been in the investment or stock for a long time, how do you monitor, or how do you know what stocks to actually go, to invest in right now? What kind of stocks area should one be looking at if you want to go into stock to invest right now? And also maybe if you want to touch a little bit on crypto investment, a little bit.
Okay, thank you for the question, and thank you for giving me promotion, Dr. Christian. Thank you. So to address your first question, I will yield to Pastor Charles. He has a wealth of experience with, he mentioned some of them, looking at the company, board of directors, their profile, market cap, but I'll yield over to Professor Charles to kind of answer that question.
Thank you. I'll focus on the stock side, and Chris can weigh in with the crypto, and I will just make some statement with the crypto as well. Like I talked about the men of Issachar, they were people that understood the time and season in which they were in. Now, if you've been following the news, you have to follow the news. You have to follow government policies. I mean, I'm speaking to people of faith because I know as people of faith, you're very prayerful for God's leading direction, because God can ultimately guide you. And but now, as far as the practical aspect, daily aspect, you need to read and follow news. Those days I used to read a Wall Street Journal, and I still once in a while I read journals, Wall Street journals, because they will provide insight, good insight into what the Wall Street is looking at. I read Motley Fools. Motley Fools is a financial material or magazine, if you operate a financial platform that puts out important information about what is going on as far as investment. They talk about companies, they talk about cryptos, and talk about what people are actually streaming into. Then I talked about also reading news to know what the government is doing. You can see with what's going on now. I'll give you an instance. When coronavirus came, many people were thinking about, what to eat, basically. And people were queuing up at Costco, Walmart, looking for food and basic necessities, which is very, very good, very okay. But do you know, for investors, the moment they heard there is an epidemic, a pandemic, the next thing they thought about, what is the government doing? How fast is it spreading? And they knew that some people knew it was going to create opportunities for ordinary people, because the investment market does not like pandemic. And so people, as COVID came, people thought about what companies are working on pharmaceutical, working on COVID drugs. For example, people bought Novavax. Novavax before COVID was about $4. And even after COVID came, and the news was noised that Novavax was working on COVID. Do you know initially the stock began to run from $4 to $6 to $7. But those who knew that COVID was going to be on for quite some time, invested in Novavax. And before we knew, within weeks and months, Novavax had gone from $4, $5, $6, $7, $10 to over $100. Over $100. Secondly, during COVID, you have to be you have to put 1 + 1 to make 2 at times, associative connections. When COVID came, I'll give you another instance. The government locked down everywhere. People were idle. They were idle. They didn't know what to, and man and women and men cannot just be idle. If they are sitting home, people who own properties are going to now start thinking about what they can be doing at home. How can they improve their properties? How can they paint their walls? How can they do their gardens? Because they couldn't go out to work. Guess what? You go check it. Home Depot. People thought of Home Depot. And Home Depot, the moment the government locked down everywhere, you know, this lockdown must translate to something else. What is it? You have to sit back and ask yourself critical questions. Every government policy, every government decision, announcement, how does it impact? How does it move? How does it create opportunities? I'll give you a current one now. You know what's going on with Russia? Europe right now, I'll give you, this is very, very current. Europe right now is planning to wind down on dependence on oil from Russia. Russia supplies almost 40, over, I'll say, not exaggerating, over 20% of oil to Europe. They supply over 40% oil to Europe comes from Russia. America even gets up to 3% of oil from Russia. And because of what Russia is doing, European Union announced in the next 10 years, we have to be self-sufficient, renewable energy, fuel cells, wind energy, which America is already doing. You can see Tesla. Our sister Blessing mentioned Tesla. That's why Tesla is not going away anytime soon. Now, they are talking about the government announced there's need for charging stations for more renewable energy cars, for fuel cell cars, charging stations. You're looking for stocks, companies that are into producing charging stations, electric charging stations. And the government actually announced a policy recently that they've dedicated funds to support companies to build charging points so that you go to McDonald's, you can charge your electric vehicle. You're on the highway rest areas, you can charge electric vehicles. And there are companies that are working on renewable energy like Fuel Cell, F-Cell. There's Charging Volts. In fact, when you Google companies working on renewable energy and electric charging stations, you will begin to see them prop up, at least for a good research. So usually that's where you start from, because some of the other companies you mentioned, they're already up there. If they don't have dividends, if you want to enjoy the dividends, maybe you invest in those ones that have dividends, like Mobil. For example, America is going down on oil, and they don't even want to explore their oil. So if you're investing in Mobil, investing in Chevron, even Chevron and Mobil right now are beginning to diversify into renewable energy. They are trying to compete for that business. So this is how you come up with a strategy. What exactly is happening? Where is the country leaning towards? Because right now, I can tell you, if you invest in renewable energy or even those charging station companies, they may not give you the money you expect. It may take a while, but I'm telling you that while it may go up and down, nothing goes straight up. It goes zigzag up. In the next 10 years, some of them, you may not be able to afford them with the way as cheap as they are right now. Then coming to crypto, Facebook announced Meta. They say that their name is going to become Meta because they are trying to build metaverse. You must have heard of metaverse. And so their companies invest building metaverse where they operate at the virtual world. They use a virtual world to represent for business meetings and everything. It's the upcoming thing. It's not been successful yet, but people are already investing into meta-related cryptos. For example, there is a current one like SHIB. SHIB, maybe Chris will talk about SHIB and all that, but SHIB, for example, is one of the most common cryptos in Europe. In fact, it is number 9 on the crypto list. SHIB is still very, very, very cheap. and people are investing in Shiba Inu crypto, for example. And Shiba Inu didn't have a lot of utility. Right now, Shiba Inu is beginning to diversify. They're beginning to look for use case in the metaverse and other things. And there are many other cryptos that have use cases. I know Chris will weigh in. Let Chris weigh in.
Okay, thank you very much. Very elaborate response there. But one thing, to become an investor especially in stocks and crypto too, you need to ask yourself this question: am I in it for the long haul, long run, or do I want to quickly swing money out? And the answer to that question determines your strategy. Sister Blessing, like you said, Tesla is up, this is up. Just think about what will happen to those stocks in the next 10 years. And how I like to think about those investments is, I tell myself, you know what, I want my kids to go to Harvard, so I'm going to invest X amount of dollars into Tesla, Amazon today. Because if it took, those things are always up, either progressively going up, right? So if they were like $5 20 years ago and today, or $40 like Professor mentioned, Amazon, and today is like 2,000, just imagine what will happen if Jesus tarries in the next 10, 15 years. And I'll give you a practical example. Bitcoin 10 years ago, even Shiba Inu, like Prof mentioned, Pastor Charles mentioned, beginning of 2021, an investment of $1,000 today is like 8.6 billion or million dollars. This is not even 2 years, not even 3 years. And this is crypto. So you need to ask yourself that question: am I in it for the long run, or do I want to swing out short run? And there's so many things to look at, like Pastor Charles had mentioned. We look at all those factors, those checklists. Now, coming to the crypto side, crypto is a fairly new investment opportunity in the market. And fairly new in the sense that it's been hoarded by the rich people. We never knew, because of, if you're coming from somewhere like Nigeria, no access to internet, we didn't really know all these things. So it's really something that is upcoming, and it has so much potential that it's something you really want to consider. And there are so many cryptos out there that can actually turn your $1 today to $1 million, maybe less than 10 years. So going back to the concept and the parable of sowing, when you sow, you just let it sit there. Like Pastor Charles mentioned, don't invest money you cannot afford to lose. And like the example I showed us earlier, you investing $800 when Shiba was a particular price, and it gets to a particular price, you're already talking about millions. So all these things are things we need to put into consideration in the crypto space so that we're well informed in how we go about investing. There's a question here. I would have loved to elaborate more on the crypto side, but I'm also looking at time here. So where can I buy foreign currencies, and especially the Russian Ripple? And we have a couple of websites like the Interchange Financial. There are places, if you go on Google, you can search, I want to buy this. There are different platforms that sell those. And the second question says, how can I invest in Venezuela, or invest in oil in Venezuela or Iran, where I can place the investment? For that one, I'm not very positive on how to invest in that oil in Venezuela or Iran. I know there are a couple ways to do investment, but you really need connection to do those. But there probably should be a website where you can do that investment. But you can contact me and we can talk more about that, and I can let you know how you can go about that. And we would like to take more questions. If we have verbal questions, please, if you can ask your questions, or really running We're really running fast on time here, but I'd like to make this open. If you have more questions, I know some of us still have more questions, please feel free to reach out to us. I'm going to drop my number in the chat. I believe Pastor Charles will do the same. Reach out to us. We can take so many of the questions offline if it has to do with stock, if it has to do with crypto, and if you, any other area you're looking at. Investment in general actually has the same strategy. You have to follow the same principles in investing, and start like the ants. Start now. You have $50, invest. I'll give you, tell you a testimony of a sister. We have this platform. It's for crypto trading, right? So I like to limit the information so we don't know who this person is. There's, you know, we came up with a strategy of when Dogecoin came out and saying, okay, buy 1 million units, you know, that if by venture the price goes up, you're going to make a fortune. And within our circle, people didn't really tap into that. But I know of a sister, she's a redeemed sister. She, first time she had that presentation from us, she tapped into it, and you know, the thing just spoke to her, and she couldn't even afford a house. She couldn't afford the down payment for a house. So when that happened, the realtor has sent her back. He said, don't you have family? Go and talk to your family people. They can give you money. They can, you know, just borrow money here and there just to meet up. But she took $5,800, the exact money she was trying to make up. She knew that she wanted to use that for a house. She invested that in Doge. She bought 1 million units of Doge. Then it was 0.0058. And within 6 months, Doge got to 70 cents. Anybody on the call want to tell me how much that is? 70 cents times 1 million units? Please feel free to unmute yourself. Practical session. I guess we're not responding. Okay, so when Doge got to 70 cents, that was $700,000. Unbelievable, from $5,800 to $700,000. I can tell you what, the sister right now is living in her new home, and she made a down payment of either $125,000 or $135,000 down payment. When she went back to the realtor was like, sorry, what happened exactly? Tell me what has changed. She said, okay, I did this investment. And the realtor was like, okay, I want to talk to the people that recommended this investment. To cut a long story short, she's living in her own house right now. She made a down payment of $135,000. How many of us can afford $135,000 cash for a down payment? And you know, that's just the power of investment. That's just the power of understanding how to make your money work for you, to make your money a servant. So with that, let me take more questions. Okay, so let's take more questions. I think we're at the top of the hour here.
Okay, can I go?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I just wanted to thank you so much, really. Thank you, Dr. Christian and Prof. Charles. Thank you so much. So I just wanted to ask, like, I'm a student, so I wanted to find out how to go about, you know, as a newbie, stocks or crypto, with like, how to go about it. I don't know if you're so chance to be able to hold our hands, or myself and my friend, we are really curious, so we want to know how to go about it. And yeah.
Okay, Pastor Charles.
So the starting point is, well, this is the starting point, talking about it. So usually the starting point is getting to come for a session like this, and then the next, of course, if you're going to start, you will need to enroll with a platform. There are many platforms for investment. We normally recommend for those we recommend platforms in the United States for a start. For example, Webull. Webull is one of the platforms based in the United States of America. Webull is Webull. We also have platforms like Voyager, and we have platforms like Robinhood. We also have Robinhood. Now, I normally talk about Webull. I like Webull because Webull, thank you. Yeah, Webull actually has even educational part. They have a lot of information, information for people to read on the platform just to get to know more about it. Webull actually allows you to trade both stocks and cryptos, even beyond stocks. There are exchange traded funds like mutual fund companies. There are times that some people don't know what to buy when it comes to stocks or shares of companies. So what they do is like they buy like SPY. SPY is like an exchange traded fund. XPY represents a group of companies. So they can buy SPY, they can buy like funds, companies that represent other companies. And so there's like QQQQ representing a group of companies. So because if you're investing in Fortune 500 companies, for example, there's this ticker that represents Fortune 500, right? You know one thing about Fortune 500 companies, if you buy that composite that represents them, things have shown that they grow over time. They grow over time. For example, SPY was 2018 was like $200 and something. Right now, each one is about 400 and something. That's 100% increase. The thing about buying like companies that represent Fortune 500 is also any company that underperforms. There are certain criteria for companies to be there. A company that underperforms, they throw that company out and bring in a stronger one. So Fortune 500 representation composites are always strong. So you're not doing well, they throw you out, bring in another one, you replace, substituted, right? So the Fortune 500 companies composites are always growing. So you can look for exchange ETFs that represent strong companies. So first thing, register with a platform like for crypto. Webull trades shares as well as cryptos. Robinhood trades shares as well as cryptos. And then what do you call that? Voyager, only cryptos. Coinbase, some of them are on the platform already. So you register. And the next thing is, of course, knowing what to buy, right? When you're registered, they're going to ask you, are you for growth? Are you for income? Are you for speculative? Are you there? They ask you questions. So you put in your investment goals, right? And then the next thing, what do I buy? What do you buy now would be a function of knowledge and research. Like now we've mentioned some today, you can reach out to any of us and we'll be more than happy to give you some ideas. As a young person, in investment, they tell young people to be very aggressive. Tell them to take risk. If you look at following God, faith is risk with God. So we take risk with God because we know God will never let us down. The same thing applies when it comes to investment. It requires taking risk. Life itself is risk. So if you've been in the trading business, you hear YOLO, people who have been trading, YOLO. Who can tell us what YOLO means?
You only live once.
Okay, that means you're not a novice. So you only live once. So some people are like, you only live once. Guess what? If I make it, I make it. If I perish, I perish. And so, you know what? Like those who go and take a loan, and guess what? They go take a loan and they put it there, and they feel they can afford to pay back the loan. Remember this. You feel you are capable, you have a job that can pay off that loan. Some people do that. And if I lose it, I pay it off. But if it does well, according to plan, I will be where I am today. So those who are aggressive, that's what they will do, right? But other than that, you only do what you can lose, right? Little at a time, over time. It could be $5. There's some, this man, Larry Jones, for example. Larry Jones is a very strong very good commentator when it comes to investment. He has a challenge, $5 a day investment. Every day he puts out $5 into companies that he believes will grow. And that's $150, and he never stops. $5 a day, $5 a day. Because I'm sure you spend more than $5 a day at a time. I mean, some people spend over $5 a day. So if whatever times change of lifestyle, maybe somebody will say, well, I'm going to start cooking for myself rather than going to McDonald's. Because if I go to McDonald's, I'm going to spend $7 a day. Maybe I can cook and preserve some funds. And that fund, I'm going to put it to investment every day over time.
Mhm.
That's some of the things that can help you. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Charles. Any more questions? I've been posting some of this information on the chat. There are some there. This is really a good time to get into the market. I can tell you that. And there's a particular day, and some of these cryptos, sometimes it takes them less than 3 days, and they do 5,000%, 10,000%. Now the trick is to know when they're going to do that run, but you never know. It's unexpected, so you always have to be on your toes, looking at the market, doing some research. There are a couple places you can go. Some people you can follow, like Elon Musk. He's good at tweeting and things running like 5,000, 10,000%. Just imagine you putting 1,000 into Shiba Inu in 2021 January. 3 months after, $1,000 was $1. You probably almost lose your mind, right? But that's one thing with investment. And the same $1 3 months after, as at September last year, was 7 million. Now, do you have the capacity to just, this is what I tell people, right? If I came to you today and I said, hey, okay, answering Ruth's question. Sister Ruth, I'm really in dire need of this XYZ. Could you gift me $500? And then you looked around, you said, hey, okay, I can afford to give this brother or this sister $500. If that answer is a yes, if that's your use case, right? If that applies to you, then you can invest $500. If you're able to gift somebody $500, then you can invest $500 and walk away. Don't invest and sit down there. Imagine, let's take example from the Bible. Jesus Christ, when he came and died for the world, if he was waiting to say, God, I want to see that the whole world is saved before I go back to heaven. You can imagine that. So he taught us a lesson. You sow a seed and you go about sowing other seeds. By the time you're done sowing and you're coming back like Paul the Apostle to check on your new converts, you realize that they've grown already. So that's the mindset of investment. So if you're able to give somebody $500, invest that invest that somewhere. It doesn't matter how small. Forget about it. Go about your business. You'll be surprised. You open your app one day and you'll be singing choruses, or you just be wondering, like, is this real? Is this paper money, or is this app money? Like I felt one December, after one December retreat, I invested in Doge, and it was mind blowing. I couldn't imagine what I was seeing on my phone, and I'm like, is this real? That's when I really got on board that train of investment. So now you can invest. There's certain cryptos you can invest today, $50, and you have trillions of units. Just save it somewhere. Have a habit of, create what you call a trust wallet. It's like a savings account, like a bank save for crypto. You buy the small cryptos today, $50, $100, you save them there. Just, be disciplined enough not to be opening that app and looking at it. It's for long term, right? And I tell you, there was another sister that invested like $300. At some point, her account was hitting like whooping $100,000, and it was really unbelievable. It's like, hopefully we don't have anybody here that feels like crypto is antichrist. But some people, it's like, is this real, or is this, are they trying to make me take something, deceptively, the mark of the beast? There's nothing mark of the beast about this. It's investments, right? So they work. I've tested it. Pastor Charles has tested it. So many other people, some other people on this call too, on this channel have tested it, and they actually work. So with that, I'd like to yield that back to Pastor Abayomi. I think we're really past the time.
I wanted to add
Go ahead.
just one thing. If you have invested and you realize that it's doing astronomically well, and it's like beyond your expectations, what should you do? So some people don't know how to manage success. So you have to have a strategy. And I'll end by saying have a strategy for reaping your labor, your investment. So one of the strategies is you can set limits, sell limits, and say, issue in case I'm busy and this, for example, for any reason gets to this price, sell 50% off and get my cost price out. So set the limits with emotions detached and walk away. Because one of the reasons why people, they swing up and down, at times they are back to square one, because when they see things going up, they suddenly get emotional and say, oh, if my $1,000 investment is now $10,000, that means it can be $100,000 if I wait a little bit. And then they start dreaming about how to buy a Bentley. Maybe it's, if I wait maybe an extra week, it might become 1 million. And they are already living in that fantasy world. But while they are still there, wondering what's going on, Wall Street is not your friend. People are taking profits. If you don't take your profits at time, wild beasts will come and eat up the profits for you. So set limits, be disciplined, set limits. If it gets to this price, sell and leave the rest. Take cost price out and extra profit, leave the rest. Whatever happens to the rest, you may say, I don't care. Very important. Thank you all.
So yeah, to add to that, I'll quickly show us a good way of managing those kind of expectations here, and then we'll wrap up. I think it's just important we show this. Somebody asked a question, how do you know when to sell? Do you all see my screen? Please let me know if you see my screen. Okay, take a look at this, for instance. This individual bought 1 million units of this. These are cryptos, right? This one on line 3 bought 1.5 million. But take a look at this first strategy here, right? The base strategy is saying when there's a 25% increase, you can take off your capital, right? Once you take your capital out, you'll still be left with some units, right? You know you have nothing to lose, and then you leave the rest of them, right? Or you can, if you're a risk taker, you can say, I'll wait for 125% increase, right? At that point, your $125 is $2,750, right? So at this point, if you take out $125, you still have a lot of money, right? Safety net, you take that out. So you can build a spreadsheet like this to help you to say, this is how I'm going to take profit. My first milestone is the price gets to 25, goes to 1.25% up. I'll take out my capital, which is 125 here, right? At that point, you still have what? 75% left. And you could just leave that out if you feel like you've taken your capital out. But if you really want to make money, you wait again, maybe it goes another 125% increase, you take out another 25%. At that point, you're already in profit. But typically the strategy I use is I just take few money, small money, push them across, buy millions of units of different cryptos, and I begin to watch them. Actually buy them and forget about them. And what I do is I go on different social media apps, handles, and I follow the groups. Like they have group for Bitcoin, they have group for Dogecoin, And then when something big is coming, you see them become active, then I know that, okay, I'm ready to take out profit. And if I have like maybe 1 billion units and any of them runs like, sometimes they run like 5,000%, it runs 5,000%, guess what? I just take, let's say I invested $200, I might just take $1,000. I've made $800 profit. And then I know I avoid the mood swing. I don't want my mood, my emotions to go like the crypto is going up and down because it's very volatile. So I take out my capital plus a little profit, and then I relax. I leave the rest. I leave them for long term. So that means I've achieved two things. I've traded in the short term to take out my profit, and now I'm waiting for the bumper harvest on the long run. So those are some of the strategies you can adopt. And if you really want to see places where to see like to take a look at what's happening in the crypto world, you can go to a few websites like CoinMarketCap to see what's happening in the crypto. They have almost all the cryptos. You can see all the Bitcoin, the Ethereum, and you can see a graph what is happening to them in the last 7 days, last 24 hours. And then, everything happening to that crypto and how volatile they are. So these are some of the places you could go as a starter to get some information and also do your own research. Remember, double D, due diligence. Don't let anybody tell you, go buy this one. Well, some people are seasoned, they know when those things are gonna go up. They can recommend, but it's still, you're still in charge of your own decision, your own buying habit or investment habit. And you should do that after you've done a little research and making sure you're sure of what you're trying to buy. With that said, if I have any more questions, would like to answer that. And if not, yeah, I hope I've answered your question, Sister Christina. You said, how do you know the right time to sell? You just have to watch the market. Like Pastor Charles said, you can set a limit. And most of the apps, you can set a limit to say, okay, I bought this at $1, but I'm really satisfied. I'm going to sell when it gets to $5. Thank you very much. So I'll yield back to Pastor Abai, our moderator.
All right, thank you very much. We really appreciate you for those presentations and the time. So without taking time again, we know people might still have questions, but we thank you for giving your contact so they can reach out to you. So without wasting time, we want to quickly take the announcement and then vote of thanks. And if you think you still have questions, maybe you could stay behind to meet with our speakers and to probably get to network with them better. So I would like to share the screen as I take the announcement. Okay. Oh, sorry, we are not doing that. Okay. So once again, this program is brought to you by the Deeper Life Bible Church, Gainesville. And we have our meeting times every week. So we come together every Sunday between 10 a.m. and 12:15 p.m. Eastern Time. So, if you live within Gainesville, please reach out to us and we'll be willing to have you come worship with us. So every Monday we meet virtually. Every Tuesday we meet virtually for our Bible study, 6 p.m. So we would like to, have you around. And every Thursday we have outreach to Shelter from the Storm and House of Hope, when we go out to share the word with a group of people, 2 groups of people. So if you are interested, that's voluntary. You can also be a part of that. And every Friday, 6 p.m., we have a Bible discussion group where everyone, share their knowledge of a particular chapter of the Bible that we are reading at a point in time. And we have, we've been having this global crusade since last year, and it's been a wonderful time. People have been sharing testimonies, the dead coming back to life, people, having jobs, all sort of beautiful things happening. So please save the date, 24th to 29th of this month. the General Superintendent, Pastor W.F. Kumi, is going to be ministering live from Yenagua. And we have a gospel artist, Kirk Deman. So please save the date and endeavor to be with us. Then the Deeper Life Young Adults in the States would be having the 10th annual conference called Build 2022, Build to Last 2022. Please save the date, and it's going to be live at South Carolina. So it's going to be live at South Carolina. If you are in Gainesville or if you would love to attend, please feel free, reach out to us or reach out to any of our speakers. They can connect you with us or reach out to anyone who has invited you. So this young adult, it's going to be a wonderful time for you to network with like minds, people from other states, in the country. So please save the date, and I pray God will help you. So welcome you to Deeper Life Church, Gainesville. Thank you. So I would like to invite to this place, Sister Muturayo, to come and do the vote of thanks.
Thank you, everyone, for attending our first women's program. I hope you have all been blessed, because I have been richly blessed. I would like to thank our speaker, Mr. Christian Udeochu, for sharing his wealth of knowledge with us all. I would also like to thank Dr. Uche Udeochu for joining us today. We are grateful. We have all been blessed by your presence here today. Also, I would like to thank our resident pastor, Pastor Akin Omoniyi, and his wife, Mrs. Hani Omoniyi, for hosting this event and for making all the arrangements to make it possible. Thank you, Daddy. Thank you, Mommy, for making it possible. Also, I want to thank our guests and participants who have graced this occasion with their presence. Thank you all. We hope you had a great time, and we hope you attend more of our events. If you're in Gainesville, please join us for service on Sunday. Also, to our women who put together this event, thank you so much. This is our first event, and I'm sure you would all agree that it has been a great success. And also thank you to our brothers and to our members at Deeper Life Bible Church Gainesville for their support, for helping out with the running around, for putting the events together. Once again, thank you, everyone, and have a blessed day. Before we finish, I would like to invite our pastor, Pastor Akin Omoniyi, to give a short speech. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, the sister has already given a vote of thanks, so I don't want to give any vote of thanks. But I still want to thank our brother that did the presentation, Brother Christian Udeochu, and Pastor Dr. Charles, a chemist turned a financial expert. So we thank God for the presentation, and we thank God for how the women organized. It's actually supposed to be a women program, but now it has become women and men program. So first of all, we thank all of you that are here, those that are online. If you are in Gainesville, please reach out to us. And for those that are here, our sisters here, thank you for coming. We also thank you for coming also. So we'll be reached out to you also some other time. And also we're going to be having similar programs, one at another time. So before we close, I just want to say one word in Ecclesiastes chapter 12 from verse 1. Ecclesiastes chapter 12 from verse 1 says, serve the Lord during the days of your youth. This is the time as young people for us to serve God. The time is rolling. The time is rolling. We understand that money is good. We need to ask, we need to have money. Everybody needs money. And for your information also, I invest also. I invest in this investment platform and have some investment. So it is a good thing. So the information that has been given is good. But the first thing is that we need to serve God. Serving God when we are young, that is the best, that is the number one thing. We have to serve God. We cannot neglect God. We cannot take money. We need to have money. But serving God is much more important. That's number one. So I just want to encourage everyone that are online, for those that have been invited. You know, a lot of people are online, and for those that are here, number one thing, let's serve God. Let's give our time for God when we are young. Whether we are young or younger or older, we still need to serve God. So let God be number one in our life. That is the most important thing. Let God be number one in your life. Serve Him. Do everything you can to serve God. Hold on to Him because it's the only one that you can hold on to. Any other thing will pass away, but the word of God will not pass away. So please, let's hold on to God. And of course, our brother has made an announcement. You can reach out to us. You can fellowship with us. You can just reach out to us. I would also like to meet with some of us that log in today. I'm still going to get some of your numbers and call you and just reach out to you. So thank you very much for coming, for logging in. We appreciate you. Like I said, both of us have been done. So I'm just rounding up everything. So we thank you, we appreciate you. God bless you and have a wonderful day. Praise the Lord.
Thank you very much, sir. So we're going to share the grace now. Well, if anyone has questions, I have questions that means them. So if our speakers will be willing to, so you just on the room. So after the count of 2, 1 to go. The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and fellowship of the Holy Spirit abide with us now and forever. Amen. Surely, God's goodness and mercy shall follow us all the days of our life.